Barry Berman and Steve Sailing from Chelsea Jewish Foundation.
Thank you very much for having us. It's very challenging in 10 minutes to try to tell you as to what we've accomplished. It's really what Steve has accomplished, but I'm going to try my best. A quick history. We are a nonprofit organization that has skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes. And 10, 15 years ago, we decided there has to be a better way to provide care for individuals living in nursing homes. And we joined the Greenhouse Project, which is an organization that literally takes the nursing home industry as we know it and flips it upside down. At the time, it was going to be designed for all elders, but when we got into the design, we quickly realized that there must be other populations that would really benefit from life in a greenhouse. I personally have had no personal involvement with ALS. I didn't know really what ALS was. And I think fate just took over from the day that a group of us decided to look into what about dedicating one of the houses to individuals with ALS. And I never knew that that day would just make me a different person. I'm spending the rest of my career now just trying to open up more ALS residences. So we went to the symposium, the Mass chapter, and we met Steve. And Steve was, at the time, was walking and he was talking and he was using a cane and he was there with his aunt. And we heard his aunt say, well, my nephew is single and he's concerned, where will he live? What will happen to him when his ALS progresses? And we turned around and said, well, that's why we're here. And some higher power must have put us together because we've developed a 10-year friendship. We've gone on the road before. In fact, some of you will know this, some of you will not know these names. If we have time for questions and answers, Steve really turns into Edgar Bergen and I'm Charlie McCarthy. And for those of you that don't know who that is, you may ask Steve a question and you think I'm a ventriloquist and I'll answer because we don't have time for Steve to type his answer. We opened the house, the Sailing Residence, we named it after Steve, going on 8 years. The house is vent ready. We currently have 3 individuals on ventilators. And we were fortunate enough 2 years ago to have a family dedicate another residence, the McDonald residence, which, as you can appreciate, filled in a matter of hours, not even a day. I think the most challenging part of all of this is the heartbreaking calls that our organization receives from around the world and around our country. We receive about 3 to 5 new calls per week. Each call is more devastating than the call before. Not everyone, as you can appreciate, has family that can care for the individual, and folks end up in nursing homes where they really don't belong. Nursing homes try their best, but they really can't give the kind of quality of life to an ALS resident that we can. In our homes, with eye movement only, everything in that house that has an on and off switch, the individual can control. So Steve gained back so much independence. Once Steve is up for the day, he can go onto the elevator, he can control everything in his room, all with his eye movement. And the same with our ventilated residents. The first time I went to visit a person with ALS on a vent in a hospital setting, I'll never forget the day I was horrified that the individual got out of bed maybe once or twice a year. He has since moved in with us. He was a filmmaker. He has since produced a film just using his eyebrow, and life goes on. I don't want to take up too much of your time because Steve has a presentation also, and then if there's time, we'll be happy to take some questions.
Hello is an honor to have this opportunity to speak to you today. As you have heard, my name is Steve Sailing, and I have had the good fortune to partner with the true visionary in Berman to open the first fully automated, vent-ready, skilled service ALS residence anywhere in the world. It will be 8 years in March since the door to my house was opened. We have opened a second house 2 years ago. Now this is an international conference, so maybe someone will correct me, but I believe we have more PALS living under one roof than anywhere in the world. And I am kind of sad, that is true. There should be more skilled residences around the country, so I have co-founded the ALS Residence Initiative, or ALSRI, in an effort to make that happen. I have a saying that I like to use a lot that describes my motivation. Until medicine proves otherwise, technology is the cure. Some may argue that technology is not really a cure, and they are right. For now, by combining the latest technology with the most compassionate, professional, 24/7 care, there is a profoundly curative effect from living in an ALS residence, and the technology is only going to get better. Much better. We have already been testing autonomous wheelchairs at the ALS residence. With the coming explosion of artificial intelligence, we may be at the dawn of real technological cure, where intelligent exoskeletons make wheelchairs a relic for museums, and advanced algorithms allowing real-time communication. In the meantime, we have some amazing doctors and researchers poised to make a breakthrough for a medical cure. Technology already allows ALS to be a survivable condition, and medicine is likely to extend survival even more. Whether that is Radicava or some future therapy, the population of ALS survivors will eventually skyrocket, and short of an actual medical cure, our community is not prepared to provide care for double or triple the PALS living today. I don't want to tell you how many heartbreaking letters I get from PALS and their families from all over the world begging to move in. It is in our community's best interest to plan ahead and allocate some resources towards long-term care before it is a crisis. With at least regional ALS residences located in proximity to ALS research hubs like Boston, the ALS residences would be a natural resource for research, both medical and technological. It is amazing what happens when someone with ALS doesn't have to worry about their care. I maintain normal relationships with friends and family, and can pursue my vocation and my passions. This Sunday, I am actually taking a practice scuba dive in an indoor swimming pool, in anticipation of an open water dive in the Florida Keys next year. Just 3 weeks ago, 6 of my housemates took a trip to Disney World. We are living our lives. We go to the movies, the theater, and sporting events. In October, I was on the field before the Patriots and Falcons game, and got to meet my hometown quarterback Matty Ice. In a few weeks, a few of us are going to a Bruins game. The ALS residences have even gone skiing and skydiving. The ALS residence gives PALS the opportunity to reclaim a high quality of life. Someone once told me that being accepted in the ALS residence was like winning the lottery, and the reward is getting to live. That made me happy. Life really is good.
Does anyone have any questions for Steve or myself?
Rob, do you want to go ahead?
I was just going to pitch. Barry, is the visit still occurring this week?
Yes, the next group that's going to be the association is having on Friday. There's a bus that's going to take the first 50 people who sign up to have a tour. We very seldom give tours because these are the folks' houses, and we don't like to do that. But both houses agreed that this Friday they would allow that. So anyone who would like to see the residents, and you'll see the technology, I believe the bus is leaving here at 10:45, and then we'll have you back, I think, by like 1 o'clock. And we're going to have our chief operating officer be on the bus driving over to us because time is so limited. She's going to be giving you a lot of information about what you're going to see. So by the time you get into our front doors, we'll be able to go right up to the houses.
Thanks. I just wanted to share with members, we're really fortunate in Boston to have the ALS residents here, and we're really fortunate to have great patient leaders like Steve Saling and partners like Berman. Take advantage, go see the residents. It's hard to replicate, but it's a really inspirational place. So I'd really encourage you to go see it.
Any other questions?
Yes,
Yes.
Gudjon is there.
I would like to know how much do the patients pay for living there?
That's a good question, and that's why it is so hard to replicate these houses, because the PALS don't pay anything to live there. We bill Medicaid, and the rest is subsidized by philanthropy. And without philanthropy, these houses would never be in existence. So a person comes into us. Now, if someone still has some funds, they pay that down, and then they go on to Medicaid. But 95 to 98% of the people are on Medicaid, so it doesn't cost them anything.
This is truly amazing. Any other comments, questions? Yes.
So that was one of the questions I had. First of all, Steve, thank you for this. I've heard about this for years. I'm really excited to see the tour. And Barry, my question has to do with, obviously I understand your operating costs are funded through Medicaid, because nursing home care is running $120,000, $140,000 a year per person. How did you raise the funds initially to build the facility? I know you're in the business, but I'm curious how
Sure.
you made that happen.
Well, we knew, as I said, because none of us in our organization had any personal experience, we had to rely on other professionals telling us what to expect. And the one thing that was so shocking to us is we had anticipated having a tremendous turnover in the houses. And that did not happen because you are living in a residential environment, but you're living with physicians and nurse practitioners and respiratory therapists and nurses. People are living longer and longer. We have a vented resident that's been with us for 8 years. And the beauty of the residence is if the nurses can detect that Steve has a cough that he didn't have the day before, they can literally send out a sputum sample, get the results back, and hang an IV right in his room in a matter of hours. Because when you go to the emergency room, it's very challenging. You don't have your equipment with you. They don't understand what ALS is. You can pick up an infection. The first house we knew that we would be able to handle. It cost a little bit more than we had anticipated, but we could handle it. We knew that we could not handle a second house unless we had an endowment for it, and we did have a family who endowed it. Our vision is to take the entire Leonard Florence Center, which is 10 houses. One house is already for individuals with MS. But our vision is to have all the other houses for ALS, have it be a resource center, have it do research right within those walls. If you have 80 PALS living in one building, I can only assume there's some major research opportunities. We also have a tremendous need for adult daycare for an individual, and for respite beds, that when the caregiver, him or herself, needs some care, what happens to the individual. So that's the dream. The first dream is, I wish I were a gifted scientist and could give the community what they want, but absence of that, our dream is to turn the entire building into an ALS center.
Last question from anyone? Okay. Thank you very much.
you.
That was amazing.